say you gotta wait for the director to start the camera. Yeah, and we are rolling on November 2nd, 2017, where it's a not so beautiful day in Los Angeles. It's overcast, so we can't say eat your heart out, East Coast. And we're about to hear from Gil, who's going to share with us his take on the United States should not incarcerate so many people. He's taken the negative side. Gil, you're swaying, so stop. Lock your legs. Don't sway.
Okay.
Good. Go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My position is that the incarceration in the United States is that they do not have an overpopulation, but they have problems. Incarceration in the United States is one of the main forms of punishment and rehabilitation for the commission of felonies and other offenses. The Vera Institute of Justice reported in 2015 that jails throughout the United States have become warehouses for the poor, the mentally ill, and those suffering from addiction. As such, lack the financial means or mental capacity to post bail. What's the problem? In 2013, there were estimated 11 million arrests in the United States. That's a lot of people. In 2013, there were 2,200,000 incarcerated in the U.S. federal prisons and county jails. This is according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. What's the solution? The Uniform Crime Report in 1990 has crime declining significantly in the United States to a rate of approximately the same number as 1963. Arrest trends show that violent crime declined 3% in 2013 when compared to 2012. Juvenile arrests declined 15.1%. Why the decline? Studies show that most individuals convicted of crime, a short to moderate prison sentence may not deter. Paper presented by the Royal Economic Society by Giovanni Mastroloni and David Rivers of the University of Western Ontario provide evidence that criminals do value the future, just not as much as the average person. Harsher sentences work as a deterrent, but only to a point. They found that convicts did seem to respond to harsher sentences. Longer sentences might work better to deter white-collar crime. According to figures, only a third of the offenders given sentences between 2 and 4 years went back to crime within a year. By contrast, 43% of the people jailed for a year to 2 years went on to re-offend. The facts indicate when crime rates decrease, prison population decreases. The statistics provided by the U.S. Bureau of Justice and the FBI show that longer-term prison terms only work for certain crimes. When the state implemented a merit time program, which enables people serving prison sentences for non-violent, non-sex crimes, earn reductions in their minimum term and become eligible for parole consideration sooner by completing educational, vocational, treatment, and service programs. People tend to age out of crime. Research shows that crime starts to peak in the mid to late teen years, but begins to decline when individuals are in their 20s, and after crime drops sharply as adults reach their 30s and 40s. Thank you.
I now stand open for cross-examination, points of clarification. Thank you. Up there quickly. Stay in the screen, Gil. Stand in the center, please. Gil, stand in the center. In the center, next to your, and look at me. Only look at the camera. Don't look at your opponent. Very good. Okay, good. Okay, begin.
You said that short prison sentences do not deter criminals from committing crimes again, and also, but how do we know that longer sentences do the same? Because you say that white-collar criminals are not likely to commit crimes again. What about the other felons in the statistic that you showed?
The statistics show that people, depending on the particular crime, that longer terms do not necessarily deter them from repeating the crime.
Do you know what
Look
crime,
at the audience. You're trying to persuade them, not him.
Do you know what crimes specifically you're referring to? Drug-related crimes, sex offenders. You did state white-collar crimes. When you just make a broad generalization, it's hard to find which ones would be likely to commit the crime again.
I do not have the specifics.
Your research shows, you stated that research shows
That's
that
time.
15 years.
Sorry, that was time. Thank you. Okay, Gil, stay up there. I'll give you a quick 2 minutes of feedback. Tell me your name again, sir.
Brandon.
Brandon. Stay up there, Gil, for some quick feedback. Gil, you had the right idea. Just remember, I realize you're a senior scholar, so you did a nice job. I asked people to use the Chicago style of footnoting, and maybe you didn't know what that
Right.
was, and that's footnoting at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
So, and it gives a fuller citation. You kind of did that. Follow the prompt a little clearer, and have a clearer idea of what specific policy you stand for and you're proposing that's different, that what you're advocating for, so it's clear to the audience what they're getting compared to the people that are incarcerating now and just throwing away the key. You're clearly advocating for something else, right? Shorter terms for certain kinds of criminals and so forth, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you needed to make that clear. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, let's have, Tiffany should be standing in front of me. And Tiffany and Yash should be sitting in this chair. And who's going to do the cross-X of Tiffany? Who's going to do the cross-X of Tiffany? Come on. Anybody, I don't care.
He's waving in the back.
Okay, get up there. Go. Oh my God, go. Start.
Right now?
Yeah.
You don't even have my...
It's the camera's rolling.
Cooking.
Okay. I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
This proposition will be presented in the opposition to the idea that there are too many people behind bars in America. So what is the problem? Many people believe that there are too many people locked up.
Who's doing the cross-X?
According to the 2014 study by the Global Research, the United States has more people locked up than any other country. But in the case that crime increases, the prison policies that we have prove necessary to keep crime from multiplying further. In 2014, the Department of Justice found that of 400,000 prisoners released over a 5-year period, 2/3 were rearrested within 3 years, and 3/4 were rearrested within 5. We do not want the recidivism rates to be this high, and studies from the Department of Justice have shown that family contact during incarceration is associated with lower recidivism rates. In 2015, Stephen Levitt of the Journal of Economic Perspectives stated that locking up prisoners keeps them from the streets and prevents them from harming others or committing more crimes, which is called the incapacitation effect. Prison discourages would-be offenders, which lowers possible crime. So how big is the problem? Incarcerating too many people is no longer problematic because incarceration rates are declining. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. prison population in 2015 fell to the lowest level since 2005, part by a federal push to reduce the number of nonviolent drug offenders behind bars and state policies that aimed at shorter sentences. For example, in 2017, Michigan state Republicans discovered that Michigan's prison policy has just reached a record low of below 40,000 for the first time in the last 20 years. The senator of Michigan said that effectively rehabilitating prisoners gives them a better chance at normal, productive lives. In 2014, the Washington Post uncovered that plenty of states have elected officials that are decreasing imprisonment and changing laws to decrease lockups in future generations. So why do we have this problem? The ineffective economic and social welfare programs in America have made crime rates increase because crime is an easier solution for many criminals. The Roper Center found 20% of crimes are caused by court leniency, and this 20% goes on to be repeat offenders that could have just been incarcerated the first time and fixed. And there's also an issue of too many people committing crimes. So going back to the public perspective, 38% of this crime is caused by an individual's personal life and circumstances. If people are taught personal values through social welfare programs, then there will be some structure in their lives and reduce crime rates. So the solution, first, we need to continue imprisoning the same amount of people, which prevents future crimes from occurring. Secondly, we need better or more in-prison programs to lower the rate of recidivism and keep offenders on the right track, because, as mentioned prior, it is very likely for offenders to return to their life of crime if not adequately helped while in prison. Family contact while incarcerated helps lower the chances of criminals becoming a repeat offender because it reminds them of their life outside of prison and gives them hope for a normal life.
Good.
More educational funding needs to be sent to the areas that have these high crime rates so that people there can see that there are more options than just a life of crime. So will this solution work? The incapacitation effect from Levitt proves that as long as criminals are locked away, they cannot commit any crimes and therefore reduce the crime rate. The in-prison programs are very effective in reducing the recidivism rate because the prisoners can rehabilitate properly and gain positive outlooks on their life after prison. Education solves the structural issues because it shows them that they can be successful without drugs, stealing, and other crimes that seem like the easy way out, but they are not. Education shows them different careers that they may have never thought of. The most significant advantage is the prevention of crime. This is because there will be less repeat offenders, and this discourages future crimes. By the incapacitation effects and in-person programs, we are helping lower recidivism rates, which lowers crime. All things considered, getting justice for all, decreasing crime rates, and little to no repeat offenders proves that keeping the incarceration rates the same is the best option. I now stand open for cross-examination.
Thank you very much. Okay, cross-ex, please. 1 minute.
So you had mentioned that...
Don't look at each other. Look at me. I'm the man to persuade.
You had mentioned that social welfare programs, education, and prevention are the best ways to actually prevent the crime from happening. Where's the money going to come from that when we're spending so much already?
What's your name, by the way?
Ryan.
Ryan?
Yes. So much already on housing.
Well, I said the incarceration rates are declining, so with that extra money, that will be sent to the prisoners that are currently being incarcerated.
Where is the extra money coming from? Because we're spending now 3 times more on incarceration with respect to increases than we are education.
Well, the incarceration rates are decreasing, and so the U.S. population, the prison population fell since 2005, and more prisoners are getting access to the in-prison programs. So
Tell me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So that they can have access to their lives outside.
We had heard a previous statistic that 2.2 million were incarcerated in the United States.
That's time. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Tiffany. Real quick, Tiffany, stay up there for some feedback. The next person should be going up. That should be Yash and a cross-exer. Be standing on the side. Tiffany, please don't, and everyone, don't print on two sides
Yeah.
of your page.
Sorry.
Or anything you turn into me, especially it was upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really, really annoying, Tiffany. Really excellent job, though. Your evidence was recent. You used the Chicago system, and I liked your solution was very clear. And you pointed out that we are going down now, and we need that safety was your highest value, and we need to keep the safety of the United States as our paramount value, and we need to keep the incarceration up for the safety of our society. So very nice job. Thank you. Okay, next. Should be up there. Who's cross-axing? Who's cross-axing? Come on, I need a body.
I'll do it.
Oh my God. Okay. And then Russell should be over there. And then Russell, get a cross-X partner. Okay, good. Roll.
Hey everyone. So today the topic that we're looking at is the United States locks up too many prisoners. The proposition will be presented as a policy debate case taken from a negative stance. Now, I'm going to skip most of the definitions, but one of the criteria that I am going to try to address is the phrase too many. It is pivotal to the resolution. Too many, in this case, will be measured by the society's demands that prisoners be punished in relation to the number of crimes committed in the United States annually. So what is the problem? Well, many argue that the incarceration rate in the U.S. is excessively high. Data from a 2016 study known as the Sentencing Project found that almost 1 in 115 Americans, or roughly 2.3 to 2.4 million people, are currently in prison. The U.S. also has the highest rate of incarceration in the world, with 670 inmates per 100,000 in population.
Don't go up beyond the brown spot, please. Thank you.
But despite the comparatively high rate of incarceration compared to the rest of the world, the reasons for imprisonment are valid and decreases over the long term, as I will show later on. So in reality, the violent crime in the U.S. has been increasing. From a report published in September by Timothy Williams in the New York Times, it was found that since 2005 and 06, the years 2015 and 16 recorded higher levels of violent crime for consecutive years. It found that the violent crimes increased nationally by 4.1% in 2016, with homicides rising by 8.6% in 2016 as well. Another issue being raised is that crime has gone up due to the questioning of police legitimacy in the wake of fatal police shootings, such as the ones of Trayvon Martin and over the past couple of years. And on top of this upsurge in crime recently, many crimes continue to go unreported. In 2015, data from the Pew Research found that only about half of the violent crimes tracked by the Bureau of Justice Statistics was reported to the police, or roughly 47%. And furthermore, what we have to come to terms with is that the U.S. legal system's sentencing laws have been punitive towards nonviolent drug and other offenders. Almost 46% of people incarcerated in state prisons in 2015 were convicted of nonviolent drug, property, and other public-related crimes. Since the beginning of the tough on crime and drugs era in 1982, the number of people incarcerated for drug offenses has dramatically increased from 41,000 in 1980 to almost 470,000 in 2015. Now, that said, sentencing laws are just part of the U.S. legal framework and thus a matter of law. Being subjected to sentencing laws flouting rules is indicative of the American criminal justice system working effectively. The efficacy, harshness, and/or legitimacy of these sentencing laws is subject to the debate itself, and do not necessarily ascribe any validity to the claim that there are too many prisoners.
Two left.
However, those who commit severe crimes or repeat offenders should be in jail, and this is in line with public opinion. Most Americans do prefer prison sentences as the most appropriate form of punishment, and this was shown from data from this 2005 ICBS national survey that indicated that respondents were in favor of prison sentences, and that most Americans do agree with the average length of the prison sentence. So overall, the statement indicating that the U.S. locks up too many people is problematic in itself. But how big is the problem? Well, first of all, incarceration rates have actually been decreasing over time. The Sentencing Project found that the U.S. prison populations have declined from their peak in 2000 at 1.6 million to about 1.4 million in 2015. The U.S. prison population has declined every year since 2008. With skyrocketing budgets and declining revenues, many state governments began looking for more effective ways to reduce crime.
1 minute left.
Why do we have this problem? The increase in crime rate is a byproduct of social and economic welfare programs that do not adequately preclude criminal behavior. And on top of that, crime is also more common among youth due to the failings of the education system for at-risk youth. So the U.S. stands to save almost $18.5 billion in annual crime costs if the high school male graduation rate increased by only 5 percentage points, a 2013 report from the Alliance for Excellent Education found. And what is the solution? Well, the first one I can think of is punitive measures for violent crime should be more severe to act as a deterrent and provide restitution to society. Increasing mandatory minimums for violent crimes will serve as a strict reminder for future criminals that there is no tolerance. Second, capital punishment for extremely violent criminals will lower the resource burden on states and federal governments, while acting as another deterrent for crime as more stringent criteria for overturning appeals.
Okay, thank you. I now stand open for
I now
cross-examination.
stand open to cross-examination and points of clarification.
Okay.